welcome back to my channel. I've been working on something really special and today I'm finally sharing how I created my very first fully custom inspired wig by Vincent van Gogh, the Starry Night painting. Now this project started back in October of 2024 and it's been a journey of patience, precision and pure creativity. From building the lace from scratch, knotting every hair strand, to cutting, dyeing and styling, even matching my model's beard to match the look. Oh, and wait until you see the surprise twist I saved for the photo shoot. Let's dive in. Before anything else, we had to get the perfect head shape. I started by wrapping the model's head in cling film and sellotape to create the custom template. Once that was done, I carefully removed it, stuffed it with cotton wool for volume, and then reinforced it with cardboard to give it strength and structure. Using the custom mould, I traced the natural hairline back on. This step is so important for a natural looking fit. That template then became the base for creating the lace foundation. With the template ready, I hand sewed the lace directly over it, shaping each panel with care to hug the exact contours of the head. No shortcuts here, every stitch mattered. And then came the marathon, ventilating. One hair at a time, knotted by hand day by day and night by night, all through winter and into spring. This step alone took months, but the detail is what makes the magic. Once the foundation was finished, I shaped the cut and started working on the colour story, blending deep blues, peacock blues and even yellow, which has a surprise element to it. All pulled straight from Vincent van Gogh's Sky. The goal? To make the wig feel like it was painted, not just styled. It was surreal seeing it all come to life, but I wanted the entire look to feel like a living painting, so I styled my model's beard to match the theme. Using the same colours and swirling shape, I sculpted his beard to mirror the movement of the hair, making the entire look feel like it stepped out of the Starry Night. And of course, I saved something special for last. I added a secret twist just for the photo shoot, and not even my model knew about it. As soon as the light hit it, the whole look transformed, just like the night sky in Vincent van Gogh's masterpiece. This was more than just making a wig, it was storytelling through hair. From cling film to the final curl, it took 7 months of dedication, trial and error, and so much love and patience. 7 months, one wig. Van Gogh, but make it hair. Let's make some magic. So the first step was we had to measure my model's head. There were 9 different measurements. Each have to be taken 3 times over, divided by 3 to get the average centimetre. Once we had the measurements, then we could start creating a cling film template on our model's head. Now this was a very sweaty procedure for my model and he was very patient. So for this technique you need a lot of cling film and a lot of sellotape, and you put down 4 different layers of cling film. Each layer has to be sellotaped to reinforce the structure and stability. For your second layer, you need to add a galloon around the circumference of the head because 1, it adds structure, and 2, is to identify where the wig needs to be placed onto the model's head. After adding 4 layers of cling film and sellotape, you then need to draw with a Sharpie the hairline of the model's hair. So while still placed on the model's head, you need to draw around the front hairline, around the ears and around the nape of the neck. I took an extra step here and added the ears and the beard line just to identify where his beard finished and his hairline started. Once the template is finished, you can then take this off your model's head, which will be very sweaty, and then place this onto your head block. Now with the head block, make sure that you identify what the nape of the neck is and write in Sharpie at the bottom to identify where the nape is. Now to protect your head block, it's made of cork, so you need to cling film this, as later on this could end up being wet and damage the cork inside and become mouldy. To cling film this, make sure that you wrap it right round, even down to the base of the nape. Next what I did is stuffed the cling film template whilst on the cork head to give it the shape that we needed to make the custom fitted wig. Now we did this by stuffing a lot of cotton wool and some more sellotape. Guys, you're going to need a lot of sellotape. Then with the cling film template, I added tabs of sellotape at the front and at the back so I could easily lift it on and off the cork head. As it's been stuffed with a lot of cotton wool, it then becomes quite stiff to take on and off, which should be a good indication that you're going the right way. Now, once you've done this, you can take your cling film template off, but keep it to one side as it comes in handy later on, and cut yourself some coloured cards, inch by inch and an inch gap in the middle. This ensures that when you tape it down to the head block, that you have the cardboard wrapped all the way around the cork head itself, and to cut a circle piece to lay on top of the head. Now, the reason why we do this is because it holds the whole structure of the cotton wool together, as well as the sellotape, and also it becomes easier for dress pins to be pinned through. Once the cardboard is also attached, again, you wrap it around in lots and lots of sellotape. Cover everything and any cardboard showing. You then need to draw with a Sharpie the hairline of the model's hair. You need to draw around the front hairline, around the ears, and around the nape of the neck. And there you have your template transferred to your cork head. Now moving on to the lace. So for this, we used a cheap version of Swiss lace. So first of all, we took the Swiss lace and we placed it across the centre of the cork head. Then we put dress pins all the way around the area and cut the excess off. Then we folded around the area of the lace to keep it nice and tidy. Next, we cut the nape piece and we folded this inside and out. So again, it keeps all the edges tucked in, and then placed it against the middle piece. Next, we did the circle piece at the top and we added in darts, folded from the ear backwards. This will ensure that it fitted the head comfortably. Again, along the way, we cut the excess off and we folded these layers to keep it nice and tidy for the lace base. Now, the next process that we did is sewing, and we sewed with clear thread and a wig needle. This process is actually called whippling, and there's a couple of ways that you can do this. So depending on where it is on the lace itself, depending on how we whippled the pieces together. So once we finish our lace base, it should look like something similar to the cling film template, and this process took about a month. Now comes the fun part and the very tedious part. We all had to choose our own hair, being human hair that's heat resistant and that could take any semi-permanent dye. But we had to practice how to knot some hair. Now, there's a few knotting techniques that you can use with a wig needle and your hair strand, but to do this on a bigger scale, we used chicken wire and wool. Once we felt like we were quite comfortable on how to do the single knot technique, we then moved on to the lace. To practice with the lace, we also used synthetic hair to give an idea of how tiny this technique was going to be. And after a week or two of practice, we were then ready to then knot our own wigs. Now, in the wig kit that we brought for our university, you do get supplied a lot, especially what's needed for our custom made fitted wigs. And I'll list down below what I had in my wig kit, so it gives you an idea of what you need for your very first wig. Now, when it comes to the human hair weft, make sure that you have your pin board and to name at the top what is the root, so you don't get confused on what either end of the hair strand it is. So what I had to do with the pin board is place a short amount of weft hair, place it in the pin and leave the weft band at the top, to then cut it off and place the other half on top. Then from there, at the end of the pin board, you can pull the hair strands and get rid of all the short ones that are not needed, but save them for later just in case. Then with those hair strands, you can then wrap them around your finger and have a multiple at a time instead of one single hair, and knot away. Now, this process took the longest, as it depends on the thickness of the wig that you would like. Now, for the wig, I chose a medium thickness, so this would be every other hole and 2 rows in a line. So that means I would do 2 rows, I would then miss a row and another 2 rows. But in those rows, it would be 1 every other hole, if that makes sense. Now, if I was going for a very thin wig, I would then do every other hole and miss a couple of lines. If I was going for a full thickness of a wig, then I would knot every single hole. Now, for this knotting technique, you always start from the bottom of the wig. So starting at the nape and working your way up. So if you have a side parting, to make sure that you knot at the side, instead of going straight forward or straight back. Now, for my wig, I decided to knot from the front hairline backwards because the hair was going to be styled upwards. Now, as you get to the front hairline, Hair naturally is very sparse at the front, so you get your baby hairs. So what we did was space those hairs out to make it a little bit sparse and for a more natural look. Now, as part of this process, we also created a wig wearable to show the step-by-step and intricate techniques that we did. So there's different types of knots you can do. There's a single knot, double knot, single split knot, double split knot, bleach knot, V-loop and injection knot, all of which will be very handy when it comes to theatre and TV. Now, before dyeing the wig, we have to cover the inside of the lace with something as a barrier to stop the dye applying to the lace. So you can use Got to Be Glued as the barrier or even Vaseline, and this will protect the lace from being dyed. Now, the first time round, as I put the barrier on, unfortunately I put too much and it seeped through the very fine hair that I had chosen for this method. So I had to wash this out and put some more on. Being cautious, I don't think I put enough on. In my case, unfortunately, my lace did turn blue because I didn't put enough product on the inside to create the barrier. Now, it worked in my favour later on, which you'll see in the photo shoot. Now, washing the wig is a technique also in itself. You have to be really careful not to scrub the wig, as it'll unknot inside the lace and it'll become a very matted mess. In order to wash your wig, make sure that you run your hands through the strands of the hair from root to tip, and also dip the wig in and out of the water to make sure that it's fully rinsed and washed. Once we'd then completed our wigs, then began the fun part of styling, cutting and dyeing. Now, for my theme, I chose the Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. Now, I'm very artistic and I wanted this to be a masterpiece, from cling film to masterpiece, and I gained my inspiration from sculptress herself. So for this wig, I envisioned this to be different blues like the painting and a spot of yellow for the stars. And for the fringe, I was going to sculpt this black structure like the painting. So first of all, like any human hair, you have to do a patch test because we don't know with chemicals how they're going to turn out. Now, especially with the weft that I had is not my hair, I had to test out to see what it would look like. So what I chose here was 5 different blues and 1 yellow, and a bit of a twist to the yellow. So I used 5 different types of blue: peacock blue, Capri blue, blue jade, sky blue and sapphire. All of them really complemented each other. With the wefts, I cut out separately and dyed them in yellow hair dye. Then once I've done that, I then sewed those wefts into the wig, creating layers and definition of colour. Now, for synthetic wigs, you can use REET, for example, to dye the synthetic hair, as synthetic hair does not take with normal hair dyeing colours. And this is a completely new method to hair dyeing. So what I did here is sectioned very thin layers vertically, sections of hair, and wefted them with different colours of blue. And some layers are coloured all in one colour, just to give the texture and dimension for the wig. Now, the wig itself was going to be all blue, while I added wefts into the hair that were bright yellow. Now, for the wig, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just the stars that were going to be in the limelight. I had to make sure that I added the black structure in the fringe and the moon. And I also wanted this wig to be a masterpiece, so I had to create a structure a bit like Bridgerton. Now, unlike the lace base, where I use clear thread and the wig needle to sew or ripple these pieces together, for the wig cage I used a normal sewing needle and brown thread and sewed this into the wig. Then with that wig cage, I then covered it with the hairnet and sewed that all the way around to give it structure. Now with the wig cage, it was made from wire and resin, and to make sure that all the sharp edges were covered in resin to make it softer. Then with the wig cage complete with the netting, I then sewed this into the wig. Now you could say this looks like something from the Trolls. Then moving on to styling, we then wet set the hair into rollers and left it for 24 hours to set. Once I removed the rollers, they stayed in place without any product at all, which was absolutely a plus for me, because I knew later on I was going to need the styling product to style the hair into place. Now, as an extra little touch, I added a hair clip shaped as a moon, coloured in the yellow hair dye. Then set the star into place with lots of swirls, imitating the stars in the night sky. So on the assessment day, we had to make sure that we knew how to wrap the model's hair. And as you can see here, we sectioned it into 4 sections with a square part in the middle to pin curl. Now my model had a lot of hair, so I had to make sure this was smoothed down as much as possible. So wrapping the model's hair, we used curly grips and hairspray. Now as my model had a lot of hair, he also had a lot of beard. So to mimic the style and concept of the Starry Night, I had to do something with his beard. So my vision of the swirls from the Starry Night and the stars in the wig, I had to imitate in his beard. And I wanted to give him the handlebar moustache. Now for the product to set in place for his beard and his moustache, I used the Gogh to be glued. Highly recommend if you want the style to stay. Then I coloured his beard with hairspray with blue and yellow. I used the card to tuck underneath his beard and then sprayed the colour on top. And in the circles, I used the yellow hairspray to give the effect of the stars. So who's excited to see the reveal? Here it is in 3, 2, 1. So this is my model. My Starry Night model, who was absolutely perfect for the fit. He also had this wonderful sky blue and cloud suit which absolutely fitted the theme with the Starry Night wig and beard and the daytime suit. But it didn't stop there. He also had the shoes to match, and I provided him with a walking stick which tied the whole look together. And for the extra twist, you say? Well, what I did is added acrylic paint to the wig to make it look like a painting, and the yellow hair dye was also UV, and without the light you can clearly see there was a lot of detail even from the acrylic paint put on top. So with the acrylic paint I added spots of yellow and spots of white. Unfortunately this wasn't UV, but that was okay, the hair dye did the talking. As you can see, it glowed in the dark. Now we also played around with UV light to shine the UV hair dye in his wig. So cling film to masterpiece, what do we say? So my evaluation, for me, it was an absolutely incredible experience to be able to create my very first custom wig. Would I do this again in the future? Yes, absolutely I would. It was just incredible to be able to create something from scratch into this wonderful painting masterpiece. And I could express my vision and my creativity on somebody else. Now I have my trusty wig bible, my step-by-step guide for my next custom made wig, and I would love you guys to let me know your concepts or things you'd love me to try. So just comment down below and see what we can come up with. And let me know if you found any tips or techniques useful to create your wig. So this wig was just so much fun. I would love to do this all again, but as time goes on I will get much quicker at my skills. This was my only first wig, but I still enjoyed it. Now I am so proud of what I achieved for this look. To be able to put this down on mood board to character in real life was just an achievement in itself, and I like to try and think outside the box and add that extra little twist or element to my design. So from cling film to masterpiece, it is pure 7 months of creativity, inspired by one of the most iconic paintings in the world. Now I am so proud of how it all comes together from start to finish. The lace work, the colour, the styling, and even down to the beard. And of course the little surprise twist at the end. Now alongside creating a wig, we also made a postiche, which I'll show you in another video. They like to keep us busy at uni, but the techniques and the skills gained from uni have been so rewarding. If you enjoyed this transformation and you want to see more wig build, creative shoots, or even behind the scenes, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe and comment down below. Let me know what character or theme or concept that I could turn into a wig next. I'm always up for a challenge. Thanks so much for watching. Stay glowing, stay you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!